What's up everyone and welcome back to the UFC News Hub. Today let's get started with what's next for Leon Edwards after UFC Loss. Leon Edwards and his team came into UFC London with plans to stay at the top, but after his latest fight, serious doubts are starting to emerge. His matchup against Sean Brady was expected to be competitive, but few saw just how dominant Brady would be. Right from the start, he applied relentless pressure, and by the second round, it was clear that things weren't going Edwards' way. Brady's wrestling and top control were just too much. He repeatedly took Edwards down, controlled him on the ground, and in the fourth round finished the fight with a tight guillotine choke. Now the question is, what's next for Leon Edwards? Not long ago, he was beating elite fighters like Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington, so it might be too soon to count him out. But this is the second fight in a row where his ground game has been exposed. Last July, Belal Muhammad dominated him and took his title with a clear decision win. Now, after another tough loss, people are wondering if Edwards' time at the top is over. Age is also a factor. He turns 34 this summer, and while that's not necessarily old, it does mean his prime years are slipping away. The welterweight division is full of younger, hungrier contenders, and if Edwards wants to stay in the mix, he'll need to prove he can still compete at the highest level. The UFC now has a decision to make. Will they move him into a gatekeeper role, testing rising contenders, or will they give him another chance to fight his way back into title contention? One fight that could make sense is against the winner of the upcoming matchup between Jeff Neal and Carlos Prates. Both are dangerous strikers, and facing either one would be a big test for Edwards, but at this point, any fight he takes is a must-win if he wants to stay relevant. On the other hand, Sean Brady just made a massive statement. His wrestling-heavy style has already caused problems for many in the division, and now, with a dominant finish over Edwards, his stock has never been higher. "This was the fight I needed to prove I belong at the top," Brady said. Could a title shot be next, or will he need one more big win to secure it? Who do you think Leon Edwards should fight next? And is Sean Brady ready for a shot at the belt? Before we continue, subscribe and click the bell icon to help support the channel. Arman Tsarukyan calls out UFC fighters. Arman Tsarukyan is growing increasingly frustrated as he waits to book his next fight. The Armenian lightweight was initially scheduled to face Islam Makhachev at UFC 311 in January, but just hours before the fight, Makhachev withdrew due to a reported back injury. Despite Tsarukyan's impressive record of 9 wins and just 1 loss since his first fight with Islam, Dana White announced that he would not be next in line for the title shot. The belief is that the UFC wasn't thrilled with Arman pulling out of his fight. Now, with April approaching and no official opponent, Tsarukyan has taken to social media to call out his fellow contenders, voicing his frustration. "I'm the true #1 contender, ready to prove it against anyone, but how am I supposed to do that when everyone else just wants to fight on paper? Charles, Justin, you can sit and wait, or you can step up and earn it," said Tsarukyan. The UFC now faces a tough decision on who will fight Tsarukyan next. A fight with Justin Gaethje is an interesting option, as the two have never faced each other, and their fighting styles would make for an exciting matchup. However, the lightweight division is in flux after UFC 311's drama. Alexander Volkanovski vacated the featherweight title to move up to lightweight, leading to extensive speculation that the UFC might be looking to book a fight between Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria. Both fighters are considered among the best in the world, making it a potential blockbuster fight. Not everyone agrees that Makhachev versus Topuria is the fight to make. In a recent interview with KO Monero MMA, former champion Charles Oliveira dismissed the matchup. "I'm looking for a title, and today's champion is Islam Makhachev. Topuria is a very tough guy. He deserves all the respect in the world, but right now, I don't see it as a big fight. If I'm looking for a title, I have to fight Makhachev in order to win and become a champion again," said Oliveira. While Oliveira's reasoning makes sense from a competitive standpoint, many fans and analysts disagree with his take. Islam versus Ilia is a massive fight that would likely generate a lot of interest. Topuria himself wasted no time responding to Oliveira's comment with a brutal clapback. "Charles, it's better if you stay quiet. You have 10 losses, 5 by knockout, 4 by submission, and 1 by decision. You are the contender, while I am the champion, the father of the entire division. I haven't come here to ask for anything. Here, I am the one in charge," said Topuria. With all this tension in the lightweight division, it remains to be seen what the UFC will decide. Will Tsarukyan get a big fight against Gaethje or Oliveira? Will Makhachev fight Topuria next? Or will Oliveira somehow get his rematch with Islam? The division is heating up, and the next few months could set the stage for some of the biggest fights of the year. Ilia Topuria next UFC fight. Ilia Topuria's next UFC fight is one of the biggest questions in MMA right now. Since vacating the featherweight title to make a run at lightweight, fans have been eagerly waiting to see what's next for the undefeated Spanish-Georgian fighter. The speculation has been running wild, with many believing that the UFC is working hard to book a massive showdown between Topuria and lightweight champion Islam Makhachev. There have even been rumors that the fight could happen as soon as June. Recently, UFC CEO Dana White sat down with TNT and was, of course, asked about Topuria's next fight. While he stopped short of making any official announcements, his words hinted that big news could be just around the corner. We're still working on that. We're working on the plan for Ilia. We should have some announcements about him. Give us just a couple more weeks, and we'll have some concrete plans for him. But as of right now, that is true. He's vacating, he's moving up, and we'll figure out the rest in the next couple of weeks, said Dana White. White's response didn't confirm anything, but it does suggest that the UFC is actively working behind the scenes to finalize Topuria's next opponent. Will it be Islam Makhachev? The UFC has been pushing for big fights, and a champion versus champion clash between these two dominant forces would be massive. Topuria's confidence and undefeated record make him an intriguing challenger for Islam, who has been nearly flawless in his reign as lightweight champion. But what if Makhachev versus Topuria doesn't happen next? If for some reason that fight doesn't come together, who could Topuria face at 155? There are plenty of top contenders in the division who would be more than willing to welcome him to lightweight. Names like Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, or even Arman Tsarukyan could make sense as his first test in the new division. The lightweight division is stacked with talent, and Topuria's arrival only adds to the chaos. The next few weeks should bring clarity, but one thing is certain, whether it's Makhachev or another top contender, Ilia Topuria is about to make a huge impact at 155. Joe Rogan says Dana White made huge mistake. Joe Rogan recently shared his thoughts on what he believes to be a massive mistake by Dana White, and it has the MMA world buzzing. During a live stream for UFC London, Rogan didn't hold back, saying that Dana's investment in Power Slap was the wrong move. Instead, he argued that the UFC should have focused on bringing kickboxing into the spotlight, using UFC gloves and a cage to create an exciting stand-up-only fight promotion. According to Rogan, a huge portion of MMA fans aren't that interested in wrestling or grappling. While Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a vital part of the sport, many casual viewers prefer striking heavy fights. That's why, in his opinion, kickboxing would have been a much smarter investment for the UFC than Power Slap. And before we continue, we have a favor to ask. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers on UFC News Hub by subscribing and turning on notifications for daily MMA content. Seriously, we rarely miss a day. If you love MMA, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay updated with all the latest news. Rogan explained his reasoning, pointing out that some of the UFC's biggest stars, fighters like Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya, came from elite kickboxing backgrounds. Their success in MMA has proven that high-level kickboxers can be some of the most exciting fighters in the world. All your champs are coming from kickboxing. Alex, Izzy, you've got some monsters. Kickboxing with MMA gloves in a cage would be giant in the UFC, said Rogan. His idea is simple. Instead of pouring millions into Power Slap, the UFC should have created a striking-only division within the organization. Just have a striking-only segment of the UFC. Put the same amount of resources you did into the slap fight into kickboxing, and we're cooking, right? Said Rogan. He also pointed out that the UFC has already made a strong push into jiu-jitsu competitions, investing heavily in the sport. And then they're doing it with jiu-jitsu, right? They put how many millions of dollars into jiu-jitsu, and they even have more of a budget for it. Having the UFC get involved heavily in jiu-jitsu is huge, said Rogan. Rogan's comments have sparked a debate among fans and analysts. On one hand, Power Slap has received a ton of criticism for being more of a spectacle than an actual sport, with concerns over fighter safety and legitimacy. On the other hand, Dana White has doubled down on his belief that Power Slap will grow into something huge. But what if Rogan is right? Would kickboxing with UFC gloves be a game changer for combat sports? Would fans rather see high-level striking instead of slap fighting? Dana White hasn't responded to Rogan's comments yet, but it'll be interesting to see if the UFC ever considers this idea in the future.